Anyway, this whole thing is just a mess. So what does my case prove? How is it beneficial to everyone else? Well, so far, all my efforts obviously haven't benefited me so far to date. But my case has how the local judicial system and police force, how corrupt they really are, or just extremely incompetent, which is hard to believe, because the level of incompetence would be, I don't even know how to describe it. My case lays out in detail, with proof and evidence, how people get shafted, at least here in this city that I'm dealing with this, how people are being shafted every day. We only ever hear of the big cases, people in prison for 10, 20, 30 years, and or if there's a case that, I don't know, it manages to hit the media with social support. And a lot of people don't understand, it's so frustrating when people say, oh, wow, that's the way it is. No, it's the way it is because no one does anything. So here I am, not only trying to fight for my innocence, but also to benefit everyone else. Imagine how many other people in the history of this city was convicted, even if it was just a fine or a couple days in jail or whatever. How many people were convicted to do years, decades maybe, by a corrupt judicial system? It's interesting, over the years that I've been dealing with my case, there was a judge, Judge Camp. I don't know this guy personally, and I've never had to deal with him. I've never met him in a professional capacity. But based on the case that I did hear about him, he was a reasonable judge, made a reasonable ruling. And all these social justice snowflakes, feminists, had him removed. He lost his job over a case that he decided fairly. And how do we know that? Well, you'd have to go through transcripts, and there's several other people online who have dissected that case. And if you don't want to accept what they have to say, well, that poor individual who was accused had to be retried. And guess what? That second judge ruled the same as the first one, who lost his career. People are going after the most ridiculous bullshit cases and saying, oh, look at all the injustice. But when there's real injustice, and there's real people fighting for justice, ignored. There's a lot of people who go online and critique cases, obvious cases, easy cases that a 4-year-old can dissect and say, well, this person's lying and that person and everything else, and these people are praised. And you watch over time how it gets to their heads. They do good, making these cases known. There's cases that I would have never heard of if it wasn't for some of these people doing what they do. You know, and maybe they were able to assist a few files by seeing something that, say, a defense counsel missed. It's always good to have extra eyes, but it doesn't mean that they're extra special. Everyone in practice always, well, I shouldn't say always, but, you know, there are times where it's like you want to run something by someone, and, you know, I'm doing this with my case over the years, running it by people that I know in the legal system. But there's people out there, not just me, but there's other people who are screaming and yelling, saying, hey, look it, there's corruption, real corruption, not made up shit. And everyone just sits back. Now, I'm not going to sit here and chop up society or chop anybody up, and I'm not speaking bad about anyone. I'm just sharing some observations. In my case, whether it benefits me or not in the end, will definitely benefit society. So this does not happen to other people. Now, will it completely stop it? I doubt it. But I can tell you one thing, even now, with where my case is at, everyone who's involved will think twice before they fuck someone over. Unfortunately, well, it's not over. My case is not over yet. You know, there's even people within the same district of those two officers that I'm dealing with that call them, and they were very careful to what words they were using, calling them a couple of jerks. So they're not even well liked within their own district. The trial judge, over the years of having to deal with him, the court clerks, when he's not in the courtroom, mock him. And the Crown prosecutor was there to witness it. They mock him. And then I would later find out that this criminal court judge had no experience in criminal law before he became a criminal court judge. In fact, all he did was apparently sit on some committee and somehow, without getting into the details, he got on to become a criminal court judge. And this apparently was told to me by an old friend of his. This is what I'm up against. For those of you who have shared my videos, shared my story, talk about my story, mention my story in their own videos, whatever, books, articles, I want to say thank you. And for everyone who showed me their support in one way or another, through donations, through just sending me words of support, I want to say thank you. Anyway, I don't want to make this a long video, so that's basically, I just wanted to share. Just wish people would find peace within themselves and with each other.